Hello everyone, it has been just a couple hours since my last video, but I went to the coffee shop and read Heartbreak in one sitting. So this is by Florence Williams, and I was so grateful to get this book on NetGalley. However, I ended up just requesting it from the library once it came out in print because I wanted to read the print copy. So Florence Williams is like a pretty well-known nature writer and stuff like that. But this book is, as it suggests, about heartbreak. She basically was with this guy for 30 years. I don't know how long they were married, but they were together for 30 years, and all of a sudden, he doesn't want to be with her anymore. He cheated on her, but also, like, he just is kind of done. Like, doesn't want to be in a relationship anymore. So she finds herself suddenly alone, which I feel like is different than solo, which is what I am right now, because I'm okay with it. She is alone when she doesn't want to be alone. And she tries to find comfort in her friends, but she doesn't have any divorced friends. So even though divorce is pretty common in the United States, it's not common in her little group of people, and she just feels isolated. This story is really bookended by this like adventure in nature that she goes on, kind of like wild or whatever. She's in a canoe and she's with a group of people and stuff like that, so it's not like wild, but you know, it's like her trying to find herself in nature. But that is just like the bookends kind of this book, and everything in between, which is the focus of the book, is just on like the research on what happens physically to your body when you go through something like this, what happens emotionally when you go through something like this. There were loads of animal studies, which is the only thing I didn't like about this book because it was difficult for me to read them. The animals were not physically hurt in any kind of way, but I just didn't like reading about it. So I just have loads of tabs, and I thought I would just go through them to kind of talk through this book. And then there is one thing that came up in this book that I have been kind of keeping a secret about my personal life, and I decided I'm gonna come out with it, so wait for that. So basically, one of the things that the author mentions is that when you look at a brain of somebody who has gone through heartbreak, in like an MRI or I don't know, some sort of scanner, she didn't really specify, their brain is the same as if they have been through burn or electric shock. So it looks the exact same, although it's an emotional pain that it has gone through. And she basically spends a lot of this book talking about how your physical health suffers when you've gone through something terrible like this. And the language in this book is really good. So she said that some of our cells listen for loneliness, and that's just like one example of how beautiful her writing is, I think. But another thing that I ended up writing about, or not really writing about, but taking note on, basically with her relationship with her husband, outdoor adventures were a huge part of how they connected to each other and how they kind of kept in relationship with each other. And so that kind of adds another level to why she bookmarked this book in the way she did, with the outdoor adventure kind of forming the beginning and end of this book. She talks about people that have gone through heartbreak between the ages of 30 and 65. And 1 year after suffering some kind of loss in their life, I think it is only looking at like separation or divorce, but I'm not 100% sure. In men, there was a 25% increase in your risk for a heart attack, and in women, there was a 45% increase. And again, these are people from 30 to 65, so on the younger side of things, I would say. With that being said, it kind of made me think about the pandemic and current events with the possible World War III situation that's going on. And it just made me curious how changes like that can kind of impact your health, which leads me to the next thing, that the author ended up being diagnosed with 1.1 or type 1.5 diabetes, and basically her doctor thought that she was in fight or flight. She had really high blood sugar, her gut bacteria was a hot mess, and meanwhile this lady is like underweight. Actually, she had been losing so much weight, which she thought was because of her breakup, but could have been a combo of breakup and diabetes. But anyway, she goes on and on and on and on about how much diabetes is connected to stress. And that kind of leads me to the part that I wanted to talk about, which is back in October, I was actually diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And it's like so embarrassing to talk about, because whenever you talk about just health in general, that's like one of the statistics that is always like blurted out, like Americans are so unhealthy, blah, blah, blah percent have type 2 diabetes, they're fat, they're overweight, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just like, I think that it's a condition where there's so much shame associated with it, and that's why I haven't really talked about it very much. Like, you can have something happen to like your elbow, or you can have something happen to your stomach, and there's just not the stigma that there is for diabetes. But what I found really interesting about this is because obviously, well, not obviously, but I have a huge number of family members who have type 2 diabetes. So there's obviously like some predisposition for me getting it. But to be 35 and get it, it's kind of young. And obviously, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, lifestyle probably played a huge part in that. But honestly, a lot of this I think is associated with the pandemic. So since the pandemic, I have gained 60 pounds. And since then, I've actually lost a lot of it. I've probably lost about 25 pounds from my highest point. So I am trying really to get my lifestyle back on track and all that sort of stuff to try and be as healthy as possible with diabetes, and possibly even get it into like remission or something. But I just found it so interesting that, you know, the stress of being in a global pandemic for 2 years now. What's the date? Is today? Oh, so tomorrow on March 13 will have been exactly 2 years from the day that everything shut down in Michigan. And I'm just curious if the levels of cortisol in my body are elevated, and basically what has happened to me as a result of this pandemic, and what might be going on with other people that maybe they're not aware of yet, just because of this underlying stress that everyone has been dealing with. And honestly, I thought that I was good for a little bit, but the stuff in Ukraine has just spiked it again. And yeah, so just something I'm wondering about. I'm also super interested in this book or other works by Louise Hay. And just for diabetes, if I look it up, basically she is somebody that thinks there's some like emotional health or thought base behind everything that goes on in your body. And so for diabetes, she says the cause is, so for diabetes, she says that there's a longing for what might have been, a great need to control, deep sorrow, and no sweetness left. And the affirmation that you can say if you want to, although you could totally personalize it and say your own thing, is, this moment is filled with joy. I now choose to experience the sweetness of today. But anyway, I didn't mean to stray from the book, but I just felt connected at that point, and I kind of wanted to dive into it, because you can read a book review anywhere, but you can't get kind of a personalized or personal reaction to it just in a regular book review. So anyway, 2 other things I want to share before I wrap this up. One is that people who are socially isolated experience an increase of 60 to 70% in their mortality rates. And just as someone who is single or solo, I found that interesting because it's social isolation. It's not saying that you're going to have this just because you're single, but how are you connected socially? So you don't have a partner, but what do your friendships look like? What does your family look like? Like, how else are you connected and playing a meaningful role in society? And that's something that I want to reflect on. Like, for example, tomorrow, I think I'm going to go to church in person just because that's one way I stay connected. Yoga classes, all sorts of other stuff. But anyway, it's something to think about, whether you're solo or in a relationship. And then the last thing I thought was really interesting in this book is this idea of warmth. And I'm talking literally about warmth. So basically, there was some study, and they found that when we're warm physically, our bodies release more natural opioids, which may be one of the reasons frequent sauna use in Finland and aerobic exercise is associated with lower rates of depression, stress, and stress-reduced illnesses or diseases such as heart attacks. And she talks about literally holding a warm beverage in your hands. And just the idea of that is so cozy, just like reading in a cafe or whatever, a coffee shop. But they just are warmer people in their personality and how they interact with others when they're holding a warm beverage. So I just thought that was kind of cool. Like, so many social gatherings, like at church for old people and stuff, always involve coffee. Like, we have coffee hour after church. And it's kind of cool that this, like, desire for warm food and drinks, or this just natural way that humans interact with each other, actually helps you become a warmer person when you're engaging in those sort of behaviors. So that is the book. I thought it was good. I'm not sure that I would tell anybody they have to read it. Maybe if you've recently gone through a breakup or a divorce or something like that, it might be kind of comforting. It also could make you feel like, oh my gosh, all this bad stuff is going to happen to my health now. So I'm not sure. You're going to have to figure out if you're in a good space for that or not. It might also be interesting just to people that are interested in random nonfiction like I am, or maybe some stuff about nature. So that's that. I'm going to quickly open my mail for you guys because I do have some packages. The first one, to try and open it, it's like a super, super thick tape. Anyway, okay. So, oh, I didn't know I was opening this first. Guess what I have? Diabetic test strips. I had no idea that that's what it was. I probably should have looked at the return address before I just like opened it on camera. So we're gonna just include this anyway since I did this on accident. But I have 4 packs of test strips. I think there's 50 in each, and basically I have this smart meter, and it like just whenever I test it, it goes directly to the internet and posts it, and I can send it to like my Apple Watch or to my doctor or whatever. And then all these Lancets, way, way, way too many of them. I feel like maybe someone else could use them. Anyway, it also is really cool that it keeps track of how many strips I've used, so it tells me when I need to reorder, although honestly I already know when I need to reorder. And it's completely free and covered by teacher insurance, so I don't have a copay. They just mail this to me for free. Well, free for the cost of insurance, which is nice. So my next package, which I think is equally unexciting, but slightly more interesting to you people on BookTube as opposed to diabetic test strips, is, wait for it, toothpaste. Aren't you guys glad that you stayed for this content? So I'm going hiking with Lindsay this summer. We're going backpacking. It's going to be amazing. I'm trying to reduce the weight. of what I bring with me. I have this huge charger that my phone is currently plugged into. I've been using it this week just to kind of see how many charges I can get out of it. I honestly think it's way too big for what I need. It's something I already have. I didn't purchase it. But there goes all my weight because this is pretty heavy. But I thought that for space and just for weight that it might be cool to test these out before I go. And if I like them, I'll bring them with me. But they're just a Bite toothpaste. So you put this little pill-like thing. Ooh, they smell good. You take one of these pill things, put it in your mouth, kind of get it a little damp and whatever, and then you brush your teeth. So, and then like obviously I wouldn't bring this whole bottle with me because this is, I mean, it's not heavy, but it kind of defeats the purpose of trying to save weight. But if I can just take however many of these I need and put them in a smaller container that's lighter, I think that would save a lot of weight and also no waste, you know? And then on the same point of view, I was completely out of deodorant. And so I got this little deodorant thing. I got unscented, but they do also sell scented ones, and they're basically like a refillable thing. Like I think this, I'll open it later. I think this is only the container, but then there's two of them, are the deodorant. So you take your deodorant and you put it into a reusable container. So that was interesting. And now the stuff you guys actually care about. I got a package from Blackwell's. So if you guys don't know, Blackwell's is a really good place for you to get books if you live in the US, or to ship books to your friends in the UK or to other parts of the world. I always use the link that Dee Dee has on her YouTube channel and all her social media, just because that way she's getting a small amount of the money I'm already gonna spend on books, you know? And so, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Guys, I'm so excited I opened this in front of you because I've made a number of purchases from Blackwell's recently. I'm not sure we should discuss it, but this is one that is really cool. So I ordered Burning Questions by Margaret Atwood. This is a book of essays that she has written. I am a huge essay fan. I'm a huge Margaret Atwood fan, although honestly I've only read a few of her books. So again, she's on my favorites list. I should probably read some more of hers. This is her newest one, which obviously she wrote the essays, you know, over the years, but it's signed. So it's my second signed Margaret Atwood book, and there you go. So I think I might start this now. I'm gonna put all this stuff away because I have a hot mess trash pile and all this stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this book. I'm curious if you guys have read it, and if you haven't and you would like to, then you should. I will see you guys later. Bye.